My name is Lila Carver, 34 years old. The chandelier above the ballroom threw constellations onto the marble, and the band kept hitting that sweet spot between nostalgia and money. I stood near the bar, a glass of sparkling water in my hand, watching Adrian, my boyfriend, spin beneath the lights with Bella, his ex. Her dress was silver and cut to invite stares. His grin was the kind he saved for audiences. I knew that grin. It rarely belonged to me anymore. He had asked me hours earlier if I minded them catching up. I said I didn't. I've never been the kind to stage a scene. When I love, I give rope. I just never thought he'd use it to tie me to the chair and perform for the room. They danced through other people's songs. They laughed through other people's toasts. He forgot to look at me the way he used to. That silent "you okay?" Check across a crowded place. I learned a new kind of quiet, one where you can hear your heartbeat in your throat and still smile at strangers who bump your elbow and apologize. Near 10 o'clock, I was talking to the groom's aunt about the flowers, peonies with that faint, peppery scent, when I heard it. Not the band. Not the clink of 100 crystal glasses. A woman near the bar, pointing at Adrian's bare ring finger and then at mine, asked in a teasing, wine-soft voice, "You two together, or?" It would have taken him nothing to say yes and point to me, a small acknowledgement from 20 feet away. Instead, he performed. Adrian laughed. That high, performative laugh he uses when he wants the circle to pull tighter around him. He leaned in, conspiratorial, and said, "I'm taken, but not really. It doesn't count when she's boring." Polite laughter, the kind that's half shock, half cruelty. Someone said, "savage," like it was a compliment. The room didn't tilt. The world didn't end. It just clarified. The way a fog burns off at noon, revealing a road you already knew you were on. I didn't march over there. I didn't throw a drink. I didn't sob in a bathroom under the fluorescent mercy of a paper towel dispenser. I raised my glass to my own reflection in the bar's mirror, unflinching, composed, and I made a decision. I'd been making it for weeks, if I'm honest. Quietly, carefully. People like Adrian thrive on spectacle. People like me, we build exits, not for drama, for survival. The truth is, I had already mapped the whole thing. The house is mine, titled solely to me, bought with my pre-Adrian savings, and a stubborn streak that meant I signed on dotted lines while other people were still choosing countertops on Pinterest. I know where the smart home panel lives. I know what happens to a supplementary card when the primary account holder reports it lost. I know which bank respects 2 a.m. transfer limits with no human in the loop. I stood there and let the band play. I let him dip Bella, watched her hair swing like a pendulum, measuring how far I'd come from the girl who begged to be chosen in rooms like this. I felt the old ache press up against the woman I've become, and the woman did not move. When the bride's father gave his speech, I clapped with everyone else. When desserts arrived, I said no to the chocolate dome I would usually photograph. When Adrian finally glanced my way, I gave him a small nod. He smiled, misreading me the way men like him misread a closed door as an invitation. He turned back to Bella, and the music swallowed him. I didn't even pretend to be part of the last chorus. I slipped out during a key change, gathered my wrap from a chair, and walked into the hotel corridor where the carpet smelled like 1,000 spills, and the air was too cold on purpose. In the elevator, I watched the numbers count me down to street level. Outside, the night had that over-polished feel. Valets moving like choreography, women adjusting hems, a city performing wealth under white light. My car greeted me with the familiarity of a friend who doesn't ask questions. The drive home was 40 minutes and felt like 4. No music, just the hum of tires, and an inventory running in my head. Accounts, codes, boxes, boundaries. The list calmed me. Planning has always been my way of refusing panic. At home, the key turned with a satisfying click. My house, the one with the olive tree that's stubbornly thriving in a pot by the kitchen window. I set my bag on the counter, washed my hands as if I could scrub the ballroom from my skin, and opened the smart home app. User profiles, access logs. There he was, Adrian's code and fob. I hovered over remove for a heartbeat, ceremony for the sake of closure, and tapped. A tiny chime, a confirmation banner. In 5 seconds, he was a stranger to my door. Next, finance. I logged into the bank and confirmed the status of the shared convenience account, the one I kept alive for optics, and the occasional brunch bill He swore he'd Venmo. Balance, a few thousand. Transfers, instant. The funds slid back into my personal account like a tide going home. Then the card. He'd made the supplementary feel like a kindness I was doing him, not a risk I was taking. Reported lost, frozen instantly. A minor digital sound, the softest guillotine. I moved through the house with a calm that surprised me. The closet. His side of the vanity. The office corner he colonized with cables and promises. Flat-packed boxes waited in the garage like soldiers I'd assembled weeks ago when the texting got constant and the phone began to tilt away from me at dinner. I labeled every box in black marker. Shoes, jackets, gym, Maya C, neutral, unemotional, accurate. Detachment can be a kind of mercy. At 2:57 a.m., I sent a 2-word email to the attorney who had listened to me describe a problem without drama and offered me the language of options. Proceed now. No exclamation mark. No paragraph. Just the lever pulled. I slept. Not the desperate sleep you fall into after crying, but the deep kind that happens when you stop arguing with your own instincts. Morning began with cheerfulness. A text from Adrian. Headed to brunch with the group. Are you coming? Then confusion. Weird. My card just declined. Can you check? Then panic, sharp as broken glass. Babe, I can't get in. My code isn't working. A minute later, the doorbell. Then the pounding. Then Bella's voice, threaded with indignation she'd mistaken for power. I let the bell ring twice more, then answered the intercom. Lila, what is this? Adrian's voice pitched higher than usual, the way it does when he's talking to someone he thinks he can charm back into compliance. My code. There's something wrong. There's nothing wrong with the system, I said. Your access was removed. A beat of stunned silence. Then Bella, too close to the mic. You can't just... I can, I said evenly, and I did. Adrian recovered with speed. Lila, you're being dramatic. We should talk, like adults. This makes you look... Adrian, I said, soft as velvet and just as unforgiving. I heard you last night. Another beat. I could almost hear him reaching for a script. It was a joke. It was clarity, I said. Your things are in labeled boxes in the garage. A moving company will pick them up at noon and deliver them to a storage unit I prepaid for 3 months. I'll text you the address. The shared account is closed. The card is frozen. Please don't come back without an appointment. An appointment? He laughed, thin and ugly. Bella hissed something I didn't catch. You'll receive a message later today, I said, with anything else that needs tying off. Lila! I pressed the button that ends a call without hanging up on myself. On the camera, he stood there for a while, posturing, performing, glancing at Bella to make sure he was doing anger in a way that photographed well. He tried the handle once, then twice, as if stubbornness could pick a lock. Finally, they retreated down the front path, their bodies small against the morning. I watched the olive tree move in a gentle breeze and poured myself coffee. It did not feel like victory. It felt like air. Clean, unperfumed, unborrowed air. That was the morning I chose the quiet, and the quiet chose me back. The city went on believing in its own importance. Somewhere, a band packed up their instruments, and a hotel ballroom was restored to neutrality. Somewhere else, a story began to grow legs without me, gathering adjectives like burrs as it ran. But truth doesn't need adjectives, it only needs witnesses. And I had a plan for that too. I didn't just wake up one day with the courage to cut him out. I had been sketching the blueprint in pencil for months, erasing and redrawing lines until the picture was clear enough to trace in ink. It started small, in the way most betrayals announce themselves, not as a storm, but as static. The phone angling away during dinner. The sudden, endless notifications from Bella that made him smile in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. His new habit of saying, "She just gets me," whenever he told a story that should have been ours. I'd ask questions lightly, the way you dip a toe in to check the water. He'd deflect. "You're reading into things." "Don't be paranoid. She's just a friend." Each denial was less about reassurance and more about silencing. I stopped asking, but I didn't stop watching. That's when I found an attorney. A woman recommended by a friend, someone who specialized in cohabitation disputes. I remember sitting across from her desk, describing Adrian not as a villain, but as a man I could no longer trust with the keys to my life. She listened without judgment, then drew a map. What was legally mine, what was shared, What could be untangled without blood in the water? The house? Mine. Bought before him. Paid in full. My name alone on the deed. That was the cornerstone. The accounts? Our joint one was really a convenience account, and I was the only one feeding it. Easy to close. The credit line? He carried a supplementary card with my name in the top corner. That power was always mine. I had just forgotten it. Her advice was surgical. Move your money. Protect your house. Document everything. Prepare boxes. Detach before the detachment becomes public. I left her office that day with a folder of paperwork and a new kind of calm. It wasn't rage that drove me. It was strategy. Rage is loud. It burns fast. Strategy is quiet, and it waits. The next step was financial. I opened new accounts at a bank he didn't even know I had a relationship with. Every paycheck, every transfer, every deposit rerouted there. I left just enough in the old account to cover groceries, dinners, the illusion of normalcy. I called it my camouflage balance. He never noticed. I started documenting purchases too. Photos of receipts, screenshots of transactions, proof that when the time came, what I packed belonged to me, or to him if I was being generous. No gray areas, no leverage. The hardest part was emotional discipline, pretending at brunch with friends, nodding when he bragged about a boys' night that was anything but, letting him think I was passive, oblivious, boring. The word stung, but I started to realize boring was my shield. Boring meant predictable, steady, impossible to provoke. And while he laughed with Bella about how dull I was moving silently, piece by piece, toward freedom. The boxes in the garage were the final step of preparation. I ordered them flat-packed, stacked them neatly, and told him they were for organizing holiday decorations. He believed me because he wanted to, because he always underestimated me. Each box was a promise to myself. Shoes, jackets, toiletries, tech. I even bought extra tape, the heavy-duty kind that doesn't peel when humidity rises. The sight of them gave me a strange comfort, like a soldier polishing armor for a battle she doesn't want but knows is inevitable. By the time the wedding invitation arrived, my plan was airtight. All I needed was a final push, one undeniable moment of truth to justify what I already knew. That moment came on a ballroom floor, wrapped in his laugh and Bella's glittering dress. And after that, there was no hesitation. The blueprint wasn't just a sketch anymore. It was a building, and I had already built the door that led me out. The hotel corridor had smelled of perfume and champagne when I left, but my house smelled like lemon cleaner and silence. That silence held me steady. It told me this was my moment to stop waiting. I didn't bother undressing. I slipped off my heels, patted across the hardwood, and opened the smart home panel mounted in the kitchen wall. Adrian's profile was right there. Code, fob, permissions. I tapped delete and felt the tiniest rush of satisfaction when the system chimed, soft and final. Just like that, the locks knew him no better than a stranger. I moved to my desk. The glow of my laptop washed the room in blue light as I logged into the joint account. Balance, a few $1,000s. I transferred it all to my personal account. Then the supplementary card, reported stolen, gone in seconds. The closet came next. His tailored jackets, his sneakers lined up like soldiers, his cologne bottles crowding the vanity. I packed it all into boxes with a precision that felt almost clinical. Tape, label, stack, repeat. His life in my house reduced to cardboard towers in the garage. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I was an estate manager clearing space, making order where there had been intrusion. By 2:57 a.m., the garage was a maze of sealed boxes. I sat at my desk, opened a blank email, and typed 2 words to my attorney. Proceed now. Then I closed the laptop, turned off the light, and lay down on a bed that finally felt mine.
Sleep came heavy and uninterrupted.
The calls started at sunrise. First cheerful. Hey babe, you left early. Want to grab breakfast with the group? Then puzzled. Weird. My card got declined. Can you check? Then urgent, panicked, pounding on the door, the bell ringing in bursts, his voice sharp through the intercom. Lila, my code isn't working. Did the system glitch? I pressed the button. There's no glitch. Your access has been removed. Silence. Then Bella's voice, brittle and outraged. You can't just lock him out. I can, I said evenly, and I did. Adrian's laugh came next, thin and forced. "You're being dramatic. Let's just talk. This makes you look crazy." "Adrian," I interrupted, my voice calm, almost gentle. "I heard you last night." Another silence, longer this time. Then the excuse I expected. "It was a joke." "No," I said. "It was clarity." I let the words sit before continuing. "Your things are in boxes in the garage. A moving company will pick them up at noon and take them to a storage unit. I prepaid for 3 months. You'll get the address later. The shared account is closed. The card is frozen. Do not come back without an appointment." "An appointment?" he scoffed. Bella hissed something behind him. "Yes," I said. "If there's business left between us, it will be scheduled, not performed on my porch." He tried again. "You can't just erase me like this." But I already had. I pressed the intercom off, watched on the camera as he postured, tried the handle, shoved the door once like a scene out of a movie. When nothing happened, he slunk back to Bella's car. Together they shrank into the street, two figures without a stage. Inside, I brewed coffee. My olive tree by the window swayed in a breeze. For the first time in a long time, I felt no weight on my chest. Not victory, not revenge, just air. Clean, quiet, and mine. I knew they wouldn't accept it quietly. People like Adrian and Bella never do. But I had prepared for that too. Because truth was on my side and I had a plan to make it undeniable. They didn't disappear. Of course they didn't. By afternoon, my phone was a battleground. Adrian's messages came first, pleading, then scolding, then bargaining. Bella's number followed, spitting accusations like bullets. "You're controlling. You're jealous. Everyone saw how unstable you were last night." Then the chorus began. Friends we shared, his family, her friends, each one delivering a variation of the same script. Poor Adrian, trapped with a paranoid girlfriend who lost her mind at a wedding. According to them, I had snapped, kicked him out, locked the doors like a tyrant. It was a tidy narrative, and in the chaos of gossip, tidy wins fast. I stayed silent. Silence is not weakness. Silence is preparation. But I knew I needed proof, something irrefutable, unpolished, untouched by their spin. Weddings are public theater, and in 2025, theater is always filmed. The official videographer was too polished, too easy to edit around. I needed raw footage. So I thought of Maya, the bride's younger cousin, barely 20, glued to her phone all night, streaming half the reception for her followers. I found her Instagram, sent a polite message. "Hey, I'm making a little keepsake for the bride and groom. Could you share some of your clips with me?" She was thrilled to help. A link appeared in my inbox within the hour. I sat at my desk, lights dim, scrolling through shaky videos of dancing, speeches, clinking glasses. 30 minutes in, I found it. A wide shot of the dance floor, laughter in the background. And then, perfectly framed, perfectly audible, Adrian at the bar. That laugh, his voice clear. "Not really. It doesn't count when she's boring." The group chuckling, the camera catching my face in the distance, faint but visible, as I stood alone near the bar. 10 seconds of footage, 10 seconds that cut through every rumor, every lie, every whisper. My silver bullet. I clipped it, trimmed the edges until only his words remained. No commentary, no spin, just truth. Then I built my list. Not everyone, not the whole world, just the ones who mattered most to their story. The bride and groom, Adrian's parents, Bella's circle, and one person who deserved to know more than anyone, Bella's current boyfriend, Daniel. I'd met him once at a dinner party. Quiet, observant, the kind of man who watches the room and waits before speaking. I saved his number then, not knowing why. Now I did. The text I wrote was short, surgical. "I know you've been hearing stories. This is why I ended it. Please listen." I attached the clip, pressed send. Then I placed my phone face down, slid on my jacket, and went for a walk through streets lit gold by the setting sun. The city hummed, oblivious. My heart beat steady. For once, I wasn't waiting for a reply. I already had the truth. And truth, unlike Adrian, doesn't need to beg to be believed. The replies didn't come right away. Gossip moves fast, but silence after a revelation moves faster. By morning, the first cracks appeared. The bride texted me, furious, not at me, but at Adrian. "He humiliated us at our own wedding. You were right to walk away." Her husband followed with a clipped, formal apology. "We're sorry you were put through that. He won't be welcome at our home again. Adrian's parents were next. His mother left a voicemail heavy with disappointment, her voice breaking. I can't believe he would behave like that, in public. What were we defending him for? His father didn't speak, but I heard the silence in the background, the kind that says enough. And then came Daniel, Bella's current boyfriend. His message wasn't long, just a single line. Thank you for the truth. I'll handle it from here. The shift was immediate. Where yesterday I was unstable, today I was vindicated. The clip spread in whispers, forwarded privately, replayed in kitchens and offices. The performance Adrian had given for strangers had become his own undoing. Adrian, of course, tried damage control. He sent long messages, full of excuses. It was just banter. You took it out of context. You've ruined my life over a joke. Bella tried too, her words dripping with outrage. How dare you share private moments? But their outrage rang hollow. 10 seconds of video is longer than 10 months of lies. By the weekend, Adrian's career began to unravel. Networking is built on reputation, and reputation is brittle. Calls stopped being returned. A client canceled a contract, citing concerns about professionalism. Word travels quickly when the evidence is undeniable. Bella fared no better. Daniel didn't just break up with her, he exposed her. He posted the clip on his social media, tagging both of them, writing a long caption about betrayal and lies. It wasn't rage. It was cold, deliberate fire. The post spread like gasoline meeting a spark. Their allies thinned overnight. Friends who once defended them now distanced themselves. Invitations dried up. The same people who laughed at Adrian's joke were suddenly quiet, unwilling to stand too close to a sinking ship. I watched it all from a distance. My phone buzzed with updates from acquaintances, little tidbits of fallout. I responded to none of them. Instead, I focused on my own steps forward, finalizing paperwork with my lawyer, closing accounts that no longer served me, deleting shared playlists, shared subscriptions, shared everything. Each click, each signature, each password reset was another string cut. When Adrian showed up once more, standing across the street as movers carried his boxes into a truck, I didn't flinch. He stared, waiting for me to acknowledge him. I knelt in my garden, pulling weeds with steady hands. The olive tree caught the light. I didn't look up. That, I think, was what broke him most. Not the clip, not the silence, but the fact that I was no longer part of his stage. The aftershocks of their choices kept rippling through our circle, but me, I was already standing on different ground. Half a year has passed, long enough for the noise to fade, for people to find a new scandal to whisper about, but not long enough for Adrian or Bella to recover. The divorce-style disentanglement was faster than my lawyer expected. Assets were cleanly divided, mostly because there weren't many that were truly ours. The video had stripped Adrian of leverage. There was no bargaining left to do. He signed what needed signing, quietly. From what I hear, his career is a shadow of what it was. In his line of work, trust is currency, and his account is overdrawn. The client base that once adored his charm now keeps a safe distance. Bella didn't escape either. Daniel's public posts scorched her reputation, and the friendships she leaned on scattered. Last I heard, she was waitressing in a corner bar, trying to make rent with roommates who don't know her past. And me? I sold the house. The olive tree stayed with the new owners, but I left it thriving in its pot, a symbol of survival that no longer needed me. I bought a smaller condo downtown, glass walls, a skyline view, and quiet mornings filled with coffee and sunlight. For the first time in years, I feel like my space reflects me. No shadows in the corners, no codes shared with people who call me boring. Just peace. Sometimes people ask if I regret it, if I miss him, if I wonder what might have been had I fought harder. But there's nothing to miss when someone never truly gave themselves to you. I wasn't in a partnership, I was in a performance, cast as the reliable backdrop for someone else's spotlight. The irony isn't lost on me. He thought boring was an insult, but boring is stability, boring is peace, boring is knowing the bills are paid, the locks are secure, and the person in your home is exactly who they claim to be. If that's boring, then I'll take it. I'll wear it proudly. Because boring, in the right hands, is freedom. And freedom was all I ever wanted.